just terrible. Such destruction. I am truly sorry for your loss. But I can't help but think, even where there's tragedy, there might be hidden opportunity. Oscar Wilde once said, "What seems to us as bitter trials are often blessings in disguise." Who am I, you ask? I'm just a humble representative from a friendly on-your-side realtor. Am I an investor? Yes. Do I represent corporate America? Technically. But we're just helping folks like you. People in distress. Good people who are trying to pick up the pieces. Literally. You seem like a smart cookie, so I'll cut to the chase. Your neighbor down the block already sold to us and walked away with a hefty amount. But you... I mean, just look at this beautiful property. We're prepared to make you a handsome offer. What is that offer? Well, technically, it's below the market amount, but we'll pay in cash. You'll close out in 15 days, and you'll be out of here in no time. Look, forget about your family, your businesses, the community that you're in, the generational wealth that your family has built, memories. Let's just say it's all gone up in flames. Too soon. What are we building, you ask? Affordable housing, of course. We make very kind landlords. I'll even let you rent a corner apartment where you'll get a great view of the traffic, roads, great view of the roads. Think about it. And do me a favor. Don't tell anyone about our little exchange. Some people won't exactly appreciate us doing business. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Will you be mine? Will you be mine? My neighbors. La-da-da-dee.
Hello, this is Niswander, and I'm here with Courage, who is an activist in Altadena. As you know, here in the LA area, there have been a lot of fires, mostly in Pacific Palisades on the west side, and then here in San Gabriel Valley, Altadena. And Courage, how are you?
Hi. I'm stressed out of my mind, but but I'm surviving and a part of a lot of good things right now.
That's awesome. Let's talk about what's happened, and mostly focus on the good things that have happened and are happening. Okay. So what is the name of the organization, first of all, that you represent?
So I'm involved deeply with about 5 different organizations right now. Mainly I'm involved with Altadena Not For Sale, which is focused on keeping Altadenan lands and Altadenan hands, keeping outside interests from coming in and buying up all of our devastated neighborhoods. I'm also involved with Authentic Altadena, which is a foreign by Altadena production company. Altadena Filmmakers, which is what it sounds like. We're working on a documentary. I'm also involved with Beautiful Altadena Preservation, which has a petition on getting Altadena residents in positions of influence, and so that we have say over the rebuilding process. A dozen movements that really have emerged from this disaster, where we're all trying to fight for the best interest for Altadena, but also just help as many people as possible.
That's fantastic. And for those of you who may not know, Altadena is a city in the North
Town.
San Gabriel,
Mm-hmm.
I guess a town,
Yep.
maybe more a town, in the North San Gabriel Valley here in Southern California, next to Pasadena. So we got the two Denas side by side. It's the alternative to Pasadena, I guess you could say, is Altadena. Sorry. So, and as you know, there were all these crazy wildfires, and I think, wasn't it something like 10,000 structures were lost? Is that right?
Yeah, so it was about 9,000 structures that were completely destroyed. 2,000 of our structures were majorly damaged. And so literally 60% of the town was wiped out. And there's about currently 20 to 40,000 people who are still displaced. And a lot of us, even if we have standing structures, can't go back because of ash or smoke damage, because of air quality issues. It's a huge mess. And really the displacement issue is one of the biggest ones that I've been thinking a lot about intensely, more so than usual recently, because the shelter was recently closed down a week and a half ago.
Which shelter?
There was a shelter that was established at the convention center in Pasadena.
Yes.
So that was shut down, of course, just even though
How
there were
long
so
ago was
many
that
of
shut
us. A week and a half ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because we went there to visit it on the 11th of January.
Yeah.
So we shot some video there. So that'll
Yeah,
be
I
part
actually
of it.
hadn't been there myself when it was occupied, but really that really upset me a lot, because we really don't have any options. We're kind of being dropped in our asses right now.
Oh, wow.
Where there's people, everyone that lived in Altadena, the nicest people, by the way, and I will not say that about any other area of LA I've been to. I've been everywhere, but all these people are just using their own money or whatever money they've been able to get from grants, fundraisers, GoFundMe's, which is not very much, to pay for hotels, pay for these overpriced apartments elsewhere, being far away from home, in these places that feel very alien to them, and everyone's really struggling. And I'm lucky enough where my house survived. About 10 houses survived on my street. There used to be 40 houses on that street.
Wow.
But I've been pretty much roughing it. We don't have water until April at the earliest. But we didn't have power until the day before Valentine's Day. And then the day of the day of before Valentine's Day, we had a mudslide and a flood at the same time. And so I had to evacuate my house the third time. So it's been just nothing but chaos for all of us. But going back to what I originally was saying is that, a lot of us are still displaced. None of this is still it's very raw. We haven't really found any kind of, semblance of normalcy, and we still need a lot of assistance, and things are still very difficult, very scary, and we are not getting near enough support that we need from any of the institutions, whether it's FEMA or the government or any institutions that can provide us housing, which is one other thing I've been thinking a lot about, where it's we need temporary housing, and we need to demand that now.
I've been to the foothill campus of Pasadena City College, and I know that FEMA was there for a while, and I was there this past week with some students that I work with, and I noticed FEMA was gone, but the Small Business Administration is still there. So are you running into that a lot?
Pretty much all of the major organizations that are helping, that are there to help, and I say help because they're not doing a great job, a lot of them, they're all located now in one location, which is the Recovery Center. FEMA is definitely, I've noticed them in a lot of places, and so they've definitely been present, but there's been way too many accounts of just FEMA making it overly difficult to give us the support that we need, or just finding lots and lots of ways to either screw us over or make it pick out details about our living arrangements or our own circumstances that make it almost near impossible to very difficult to get the support that we actually should be eligible for. For instance, on my property, there are 5 families that live on the property in 5 different sections. Almost none of us have gotten any support at all, not a dime, because they're trying to treat all of us like one household, even though we're all separate tenants that live on the property. So one person who was a tenant at the house, she applied very early and got the full amount, which was $700 some, and then
That's the full amount?
Yes. And I was able to push really hard and get the landlady because she needed it, the support that she needed from FEMA, but they only gave her $300.
Really?
While all the rest of us, which was like 3 other families, me being one of the families, none of us have received anything because they're trying to treat all of us like one household. Examples like that, where it's like, it's been very inconsistent, and just people like having, site inspections that don't happen. Thankfully, they just recently extended our deadline to March 31st to apply and be approved for our FEMA assistance. And so like all of these institutions are just doing a pretty piss poor job of, I think, helping all of us and have the help be consistent, having it be somewhat timely, but also not really making it difficult for us, because as everyone knows, like our living situations, everything, it's complicated in LA. Some of us just rent out rooms and houses. We don't have like units or whatever the case might be. And it seems as usual, FEMA is, finding a lot of ways or, stumbling into a lot of situations where they're being hands off or not very helpful with the fact that we all have our own situations, and it requires some more specificity, more details to honor, because none of us have the same situation, and some of them are rather unique.
You mentioned earlier that there's a lot of good going on. What is the good that's happening right now that you want to share? Or additional information, let's say, that we're not hearing maybe through mainstream outlets?
Mm-hmm. So I think the good that is happening that's not really being covered, and leaving the whole kind of typical institutional failing that we're kind of seeing, is really the kindness, the togetherness, the selflessness of our community. Altadena, and I would never say this about any other community, not even close. No offense to other communities, but it's like no one comes close to like how kind and generous and cooperative, caring, compassionate Altadena is.
Awesome.
It's, I've literally had experiences where like the people behind me at Target, like they're offering to like, buy up supplies that I'm buying at that moment, and or like people are constantly offering, like, can I deliver anything? People are delivering things to each other's places, going across, cities to pick up donations. We're seeing so much of that every single day, just amazing acts of kindness, unexpected acts of kindness. But I would definitely say the beauty of organizers, like community organizers, activists. I was at a monthly get-together organized by Altadena Rising. That's another organization where they do like a collab and care event every month, where they bring together community organizers to not only network and talk about all the projects that we're doing and find other allies that also believe in our projects, but they make sure that community organizers are heard for their needs, and we're taken care of, and we order food, and we have a good time amongst each other. And we feel, at those meetings especially, I feel like you're amongst so many other do-gooders and change makers in the Altadena community, and we're all so involved. We all have such great ambitions. We all have done such great work. You feel like it's only a matter of time until we start seeing certain things come back together and the support put out there. Like whatever the institutions are doing that they're mostly failing at, we make up for what they're not doing or not doing well enough. And we are trying to fill the gap and helping out other Altadenans with their situations, no matter what that situation is. And it's really amazing just to see and be in spaces like that, how much other community organizers are doing and what extent we're putting ourselves out there, even when a lot of us are displaced ourselves. It's really incredible to see just how much we want to be there for our community and how much we're going to do, even at the expense of our own sanity or our own time, our own stability. It's really incredible to see just how selfless Altadenans are. And like I said, I would not come close to even saying that about any other community I've been a part of in Southern California, personally.
That's great to hear. And I see this sign that you have here where it says Altadena not for sale. Is that a yard sign that people are putting in their yards?
Yeah, so we have already gotten hundreds of households and residents to buy signs for $10, which almost all goes towards producing more of them. I am working with two of my friends, Melissa Michelson and Gabrielle. I don't know her last name offhand, but the three of us are pretty much make up an organization that's called Altadena Not For Sale. where our main goal is to get everyone behind the messaging of we will not allow outside developers to come in and take advantage of our vulnerable position with our devastated neighborhoods and businesses and try to buy them up and basically build up an Altadena 2.0 that's nothing like 1.0 in all the worst ways. So we are getting everyone behind this message of that Altadena should remain for Altadenans first and foremost, and our businesses. So we're doing everything we can to get everyone behind that message, but also connect everyone to all the resources they need, and so that they can make sure that ideal scenario happens, but also just to help the uninsured and the underinsured who are at this point going through a difficult time holding on to hope, because most of our homes, or if not a lot of our homes in Altadena, were generationally owned.
Yes.
Where they were bought like a century ago. And so they never thought that anything like this would happen. And so with their homes being completely wiped out, they have currently no means or no way of being able to afford to rebuild. And so we are doing our best to let them know, like, there's hope. We need to be behind this message and keeping Altadenans for them. And as more and more options come to the forefront for people like that, we want to not only refer them to them, but we want them to know about them, and we want them to be educated on their rights and making sure that they know that Altadena is not for sale and it should remain for Altadena first and foremost.
So the people that you've talked to, do you know anyone who is planning to not stay in Altadena?
Yes. Personally.
But not many, right?
Not many. Personally, I've heard of. I mean, I'm on the like Facebook groups and stuff like all the time, constantly absorbing stories and situations of other Altadenans in my area. But even with that, I couldn't count on one hand people that are selling that I've seen say that out loud. I imagine some of them are a little embarrassed or a little feeling shame over them deciding to sell and simply haven't made it public. I have heard some numbers come out currently that as of now about a quarter or 25% of people who have been asked or polled, I'm not sure how they've done it, are feeling like they're going to have to sell. And so I imagine though that's going to change over time, because we're all going through something different every day. One day you feel like you don't have any hope. The very next day you're feeling like, you know what, I can do this, because you've seen what the community is doing around you. But as of right now, it feels like it's around 25%, but we're hoping we can get that percentage down more and more as people are seeing the options, as we're putting the options out there. Just a few days ago, Altogether, that's the other group that I'm a part of.
Wow, there's a lot. That's great, there's a lot going on.
Just a few days ago, a group called Altogether, which they're working on getting neighborhood captains in every single area of Altadena so we can communicate with the larger network on the building needs of our individual neighborhoods. So I'm the neighborhood captain of my neighborhood along with one other neighbor. And anyways, that group, we recently put out our very first kind of a guide on options that people have that had no insurance or feel like they cannot afford to rebuild. And so for the first time, we finally have our first guide out there on their options currently. But I have confidence that over time we're going to see more and more options pop up. And just recently I found out today that the Altadena Town Council announced, I think a week ago, we now officially have a relief fund, a GoFundMe for all Altadena residents. And so now we have a singular way for people to financially give that will go directly to Altadena residents, because one of the biggest things that we've been critical of is, like, the Grammys or whatever, we've raised millions of dollars for Altadenans or whatever, we haven't seen that money.
Right.
And so what I want to see is those funds go directly to the people that need them most, and not to administrative costs, not to these interesting organizations that are especially from the outside. So we now officially have an overarching relief fund, so that's great to see. But yeah, so
that's also transparent.
That's transparent, yeah, because I definitely trust the town council. They're completely volunteer, and almost most of them have lost their homes themselves.
Yeah, I understand.
Yet they're still trying to operate within their capacities to serve on the town council. So again, I just can't speak to just how incredible this community is, which is why I'm fighting so hard for them, because it breaks my heart several times a day, every single day, seeing the most selfless, generous, kind, beautiful, together, interwoven community that I've ever been a part of go through this. You know, it's just, and so it's like they deserve every bit of effort that I'm putting towards helping them, and I'm hoping I'm making a dent. But at the same time, I'm hoping that everything that we're doing is going to come to a head at some point, and we're going to be able to show how unified Altadena is, and how incredible our community is, and how we deserve every bit of support within our community, coming in from outside the community, because the spirit of Altadena is ungentrified. The spirit of Altadena is evenly, beautifully diverse in a beautiful area.
Yes.
The spirit of Altadena is selfless, and it's just a community that deserves absolutely to get back up on its feet and to be rebuilt in the spirit of the old.
That's fantastic. Do you know of BlackRock being in the area yet? Talking to anybody?
Yes.
You are aware of that?
So yeah, this is not a statistic, but from what I've seen with the gatherings that we've had of the community, it feels like at least a third of us, and this was like a month ago actually, a third of us have been solicited with offers for our properties. We've had letters put in our mailbox. We've been called. We've had people, go door to door, step on our properties. We've definitely, and which is illegal, by the way.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
For 3 months after a claimed disaster, a stated disaster, it's illegal to approach us with unsolicited offers for our property. And but that's absolutely been happening. But 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had what I call the adpocalypse, where where all our devastated neighborhoods, our houses completely wiped out. We've been seeing hundreds and hundreds of just lawn signs put illegally in our neighborhoods.
Wow.
Soliciting us for services, for paying for junk removal, for selling our properties. We've had things bolted into our trees. We've had things bolted into our street lights. We've had things taped onto our windows and our cars. We've had things flyers zip tied onto our mailboxes. And so it's like they're really going all out as far as inundating us with all of these offers to not just sell our properties, but to buy up their services, to take advantage of our need for whatever. So it's really been disgusting seeing that. But for sure, we have been solicited illegally for our properties. One more thing I want to say about that is that one thing hit the news, and of course it was all over the news. One of our properties that did go up for sale was sold for $100,000 more than what the homeowner was asking for. But of course, ironically or incidentally, it ended up all over the news.
Wow.
And so really how I saw that whole thing was that it seemed to be a very clever, disguised marketing campaign.
Right.
Where what I think happened is that the realtor who sold that property for what was $550, I think that he made sure it got all over the news to let everyone know, well, if you sell now, you're going to get a great deal on your property. And so just, another type of panic selling where it's you need to act now if you want to get a great offer too, kind of thing. So for me, that really felt like it was a very cleverly disguised marketing campaign, leveraging the media in that kind of sense. But really, I truly do believe on the ethical standpoint, not the legal standpoint, but ethically, no one outside the community should be approaching us right now because we're all vulnerable, we're all scared, we don't know what's going to happen. It's only been 2 months. So for me, I feel like no one from the outside should ethically be approaching us unless we put our properties out on the market, etc. Because in a situation like this, I feel like all these interests outside the community, especially corporate big ones, they've been eyeing Altadena for a long time. 60% of the town is gone. Of course, they're going to want to come in and turn Altadena into their own version of it. And I don't want to see that happen. Like I said, the spirit of Altadena is ungentrified. And so a gentrified Altadena is not an Altadena at all. So I will say, I've seen moves like that even happen. And even though it's legal, it doesn't mean that it's moral or it's not inherently, coercive.
Exactly. Well, let's end on a high note. I have a little story to share with an art teacher that works in the Pasadena Unified School District, and she and her husband lost their home in Altadena, and she actually said that, in a strange sort of way, she said, does this sound strange? But I'm actually, in some ways, with a horrible loss from my family, in some ways I'm kind of relieved, because I was overwhelmed with all the stuff that I need to go through and organize in my house, and now I don't have to do that. She said, isn't that weird? Like, I don't know. And then she said she had some of her clay artwork in a suitcase by the front door, and she was able to retrieve that. And she showed me some of the artwork, and she said, look at this now. It kind of has an interesting beauty to it that it didn't have before. And it's like it's gone into the kiln now a third time. You know what I mean? And it's funny how, like, I'm finding a different way to look at all of this, as time goes on. Do you have a story kind of like that you could share that's different and has an optimistic twist to it?
It's both scary and interesting and fascinating, and just like how many I have a real-time recent example of like a lot of the things that you're bringing up. And real quick, the two things that came to mind right away was the not even a week after the fire happened, I have one friend who's been remarkably strong during all of this. She's an awesome person. But after the fire happened, almost a week after it happened, I saw her make a post on Facebook just showing her devastated property, and said, like, well, my goal was to organize my garage this year, and I guess I did it early this year. So it's just, that was a difficult thing for like me to like just find the humor in, kudos to her. But, so a lot of us have been able to find some humor and some levity in all of this. You see a lot of these examples of people, you see the resiliency of people and their spirit, their stories, and what they're capable of doing in the middle of a disaster like this. And I guess my activism as well, even though I feel like for me, my trauma response has been burying myself in my activism. I know somebody who has spent years to decades of his life restoring a home that belonged to slave owners, that later belonged to a black family.
Wow.
And he spent years to decades of his life restoring that house. I know that because I took part of that, because I organized people's homes as a job I did, as a side job. The house is gone now. I'm thinking what's going to happen to these incredibly kind and beautiful people, neighbors that I loved, and if they're going to be able to pull themselves up, which is why I'm doing everything possible to make sure they do not fall through the cracks. They do not become one of our homeless, because our homeless population, I'm sure, was tripled with, all these people who have been displaced, not just from the Eaton fire, but all the fires that happened in LA.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the story and insights.
If you're, of course, a victim and survivor of the Eaton fire, or probably any of the fires, if you're someone who wants to get involved, wants to get organized, wants to fight for the best interests of Altadena, that wants to help people in the most effective ways possible, I put everything that I'm doing, that I have, that I've organized together in one place on my website. I'm an actor, so it's couragetheactor.com/Altadena. You'll see on there every single resource that I found well organized in one place. So please keep us in your thoughts, get involved, and spread the word about everything that we're doing, because we're in this for the long haul.
Thank you so much, Courage. And you've been watching The Nowman Show.